last night's was a different kettle of fish. It was a very poor performance and was met with boos at half time and at full time, which is a shame. I mean, I don't think it helps when teams are booed like that. And it is early days for Tuchel, to be fair. But people will no doubt find some criticisms in maybe some of his selections and things like that. But yeah, I would say Andorra was disappointing last night to lose. It was 3-1, I think. It 3-1. It was, wasn't it?
Was, yeah.
In the end, is a very poor result. I mean, Senegal are rated about 19th in the world, which is a lot better than they used to be. You know, I think
Mm.
years ago they were one of the teams again that were kind of a bit like San Marino has been viewed as very easy meat for the top teams. But they've
Yeah.
got some very good players. In fact, I might say one of their players, Ismaili Sarr, a Palace player, scored one of their goals. So good for him. He's very quick, and they, as far as I could see last night, they just looked a better side. Senegal. They had technique, and you could see their confidence as the game went on. They got confident, and they were quick. They were incisive. They could break brilliant defence-splitting passes, and no one would say they didn't deserve to win because they did. And it's
Mm.
always a bit sad when England lose to a team thought to be way below them, but they are, you know, in ranking terms, they are way below them. So yeah, that's not a good start. But I would just say one thing. I tend to think that these international squads, which get together periodically in ultimate preparation for the tournaments, the Euros
Yeah.
and the World Cup, I think the squads are too big. You know, initially, for example, before a World Cup, a manager has to name, I don't know, I think it's something like 28 players, something like that. And then he reduces it down to about 23 at the beginning or before the beginning of the tournament. So I never
Mm.
quite understand the point of that unless a manager wants to look at somebody, but then he would have done that. He or she would have done that, shall we say. So and I think this is one of the problems. As I say, last night he made 10 changes in terms of the starting 11. There were no subs, no substitutes in the first half, and to have an England team Friday playing actually not particularly well, but possibly more like the first England team, the first team in his mind. I don't know,
Yeah.
to a totally different team, maybe like the second 11 in some cases, not in all cases, because you've got Harry Kane still playing and others who are first teamers. But I think this is the problem. When we used to talk about your friend Gareth Southgate and his his antics, but we know he got to the final, didn't he? He got
It
to the
did.
final of the Euros, and he did very
Yeah.
well to do that, even
Yeah.
if some of us questioned the way he did it. But I used to say, you know, if I were the manager of England,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'd do it well or great, but I would play the basic team that I had in my mind, probably for 3 months, 4 months before, at all the friendlies, all the games leading up to the tournament, so that that team gets used to playing with each other. Yeah, you tweak it with substitutes, maybe 3 or 4 substitutes, changes if you need that many, and so on. But because these squads are so big, even the final squad is about 23 players, I think, 22, 23 players,
Yeah.
then I think almost by definition, you're going to be choosing some people who are on the periphery of it who are
Yeah.
not quite international standard. And I think, I'm not going to name players last night who I thought are not international standard because any one of them could have been having an off night
Yeah.
and probably was, and many in the team perhaps were. And I don't see some of those players regularly, like I see my team Crystal Palace play. I think almost by definition, you're going to be choosing some people who are on the periphery of it who are
Yeah.
not quite international standard. And I think, I'm not going to name players last night who I thought are not international standard, because any one of them could have been having an off night, and probably was, and many in the team perhaps were. And I don't see some of those players regularly, like I see my team Crystal Palace players.
Yeah.
So, but I think there's too many players who go into a squad, and therefore a manager is almost bound to give them all playing time, minutes, as they say, when they have get-togethers, sometimes, usually around a couple of friendlies. And he's going to think, well, I've got to give everyone a chance. If I was disappointed last night, it was he brought on Ivan Toney, who I think is in Saudi now, which is, I think, a shame, because he was so good as a goal scorer with Brentford, wasn't it? And he brought him on at about the 87th minute. Okay, there were 5 minutes second. But if anyone, I think, because he played, once Harry Kane went off, he played without a central striker. And I thought that was the perfect time. I thought, I mean, who am I? But bring on Ivan Toney. I mean, he's travelled to be with the group. I think he deserved a bit more than that. So, but anyway, there's 1,000 football managers out there who, like me and you, who we can do a better job, we think, than the manager, and that's obviously not the case. But it wasn't a good performance. And I suppose in these early days, Tuchel he's looking at the players, he's seeing who he thinks are the best players who are going to be in his team, and sort of from there. But it wasn't a good. It was a sort of performance that looked like they'd not really played together before. And this is one of the problems. You've got too many players. Maybe they're all champing at the bit to become the first 11 in the manager's mind, and they won't all be the first 11. And we all know you need a squad system, as in the Premier League. You need probably 16 players, but I don't think you need more than that. Okay, if there's an injury, a bad injury before a tournament, they should be replaced. But I think 11 first teamers, 5 substitutes, and it should be probably much better, because they'll all be used to playing with each other. But what do I know? I've said this for a long time, but it doesn't seem to make any difference.
No. Yeah. I mean, I was looking at 2 players last night, and they were both playing on the same axis of the pitch, and it was Karl Walker and Saka. And I don't think those two blend very well.
No.
I didn't see that last night. Like you said, players could be having an off day, on the pitch, and